All right, hey folks, we're going to finish up the artwork for the PDF, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. I think we're finishing it tonight. So give me a second here to check my signal, make sure I'm live. I'll go through my intro spiel, and then we'll crack out some art. So mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. Yeah, coming through A-OK. Cool. So we're going to do that. Let me boost my signal here on the internet, and we'll get active here in a hot second. There's that, and then there's that, and then here's this. All right, cool. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition here since 2017, when they released Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica as the first Magic the Gathering setting that was created for Dungeons & Dragons. I am a big MTG enthusiast, and I've been playing D&D since 87, and my friends grabbed the first alpha set of Magic the Gathering cards, what was like back in 93 or 94, something like that. Maybe it was 95. Anyway, I don't remember exactly how long ago it was, but I've been around both of those games forever. Love WotC. Love what they do. But they didn't create a color mana system to play in D&D, so that got me on the road to creating content. If you check in the description down below, there's a link to a bunch of books that I created, which is the color mana spell point variant rules, which converts Dungeons and Dragons spell casting from the 8 schools of magic and spell slots into a color mana system, very similar to Magic the Gathering. If you've played it before, you know what I'm talking about. So that got me into homebrewing, and I've been a professional illustrator since 2000. So I matched the peanut butter of game design with the chocolate of art, and I make PDFs now. So when they released Spelljammer's Adventures in Space in August 2022, I've been a Spelljammer enthusiast since the setting was released, like back in '89. I think it was I was around 15, somewhere around 15 at the time. And boy, what a kick-ass setting. And then Planescape came out. We didn't like Phlogiston at our table. It was obnoxious. So when Planescape came out, it was an obvious opportunity to jump over into the Astral for the ships to fly there. And then 4th edition had the Astral Sea, which kind of reinforced that. So I'm thrilled to see that it was added again in 5e. But what everyone expected to see in 5e was mechanics for ship combat, because we had mechanics in the Ghost of Saltmarsh. We got waterborne mechanics. Descent into Avernus gave us landborne vehicle mechanics. We figured Spelljammer was going to give us air mechanics, but they didn't. So I got to work again, and so this art stream that we're looking at here, if you go down to the full playlist here, you'll see me like making this book cover at episode 15, but episode 1 was us basically peeling open the book on August 17th, 2022, to thumb through what the mechanics were to see if what we were thinking would work, and it does. So we got to work, and we ended up building out a 105-page document that basically converts. Where'd I go? Here I am, you guys. That basically converts the 5th edition Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide, the combat, spellcasting, and exploration chapter or adventuring chapters of those books into something that can be used in Spelljammer, including combat at the 50 and 500 foot scale, and exploration all the way out to 100 million miles or more, to be able to like point crawl or hex crawl from location to location in wild space. And we fleshed out mechanics for Astral Sea as well for 5e. So the first 80 pages are mechanics for playing the game, a creature's menagerie. We have a random system generator in here for you to be able to use the mechanics that we built in here for exploration, to be able to create your own systems to explore. And then the back 25 pages of this, when they released it in 2022, they created an adventure to showcase how they envisioned Spelljammer working as like a Flash Gordon sort of homage. And so they created Light as Araxis, the 5th to 8th level adventure for Spelljammer. So since we've done such a deep dive in rebuilding the mechanics from the ground up for the game, I also translated Light as Araxis, so you would have a showcase for how these mechanics work as well. So right now what we're doing is we are going to just finish up some of the filigree and page filler art for the back section of the book. This is in the fourth part. No, this is the first part that we're looking at, Seeds of Destruction. Here, let me scroll in here. When this book publishes on the DMsGuild, it's got 80 tokens for all the creatures and NPCs that appear in the game. It's like 22 tokens for the different ships that we have, as well as additional tokens for all the weapon systems that are aboard them. We created system maps that are easy to navigate. Then we also created for the Citadel of Light, we created both a top side and bottom side map. Each square is a 500-foot space, but of course, if you're using a virtual tabletop, it's a 300 DPI, so you can zoom in a lot to be able to see the details of what's going on. And we'll probably see more of this later on. But right now, all I want to do is have some fun. I got the feeling that I ain't the only one. So let me scroll back out here. We have 3 pages that we need to spruce up. Page 91, 88, and 85. So page 91 has a bit of corner art that I just wanted to fill in a little bit, which we're looking at. Where are we? Where are we at right now? That's page 93, 92. Here we go. I want to fill this spot. I want to fill this spot. And then I want to fill in this spot. So we're currently working on this spot first, and we're just gonna have at it. So I've got maybe like 2 hours to kick through these illustrations. They're just Bob Ross clouds, really. So God's willing, I shan't run into too many problems. But oh yeah, hey, before I get too far, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. We're trying to climb to 500. When I get to 500, I'm going to share my brush set that I use here in Photoshop on my Patreon page. Big shout out to the Spelljammer Preservation Society at subreddit Spelljammer for being awesome folks, great ideas, fun questions, and have been very encouraging for the work that I've been doing here. I'm still on the Twitter platform at Phil Kearney if you want to follow me there. And if you check out the links down below, here's the color mana system that we built. Hey, Spell Points Warlock is a pay what you want. That's, I think, literally 2 sales away from going gold. Patreon. Thanks for support if you're interested in doing so. Here's my Discord channel, and it's in the about. I update the Discord link. I'll update it when I'm done with stream tonight, because I think it's going to expire tomorrow. So I've been updating the Discord invite link weekly, so you're welcome to check that out. So let's get back to work. I'm just going to grab up some stuff here, and let's just, just be a little fearless. This here. Do some of that. Just pretty it up down here, you know? Just mess around. Not sure what we're going to be talking about tonight. But I had a debriefing with my homebrew table. I run D&D for my coworkers here in Seattle, and we have a roster of 6 players in a West March style Spelljammer Eberron campaign that I've been running. We just kicked it off. The time travel Eberron campaign that I had been running for the past 5 years concluded, so they wanted a change of pace. So we're playing a Shadow Dark style Eberron Spelljammer campaign with disposable heroes, and it's a platoon style format where the team has the players own an asteroid belt mining guild of dwarves, gnomes, and warforged that are in orbit, extracting valuable ore from asteroids that are floating in orbit around the planet Eberron, and then they have mining crews. So the team, the actual adventuring part of the game is chasing pirates and fighter craft, delving into asteroids to clear out bugs and other types of threats. If you've seen the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor game, it's that was a source of inspiration when we were designing the campaign to play. So the team delves into random rocks full of wealth and danger, and they try to dig it out to gain resources and take control to clear the area of threats, so that an NPC mining team could go in and clear the resources to then distribute for like gaining levels or acquiring more magic items or new ships or whatever. Just spending their resources on stuff that characters would spend it on with the backing of a massive asteroid belt mining operation. So they have diplomacy missions where they're negotiating contracts with rival nations or mining guilds, and espionage with heist missions to steal resources or discover information that they need for their next adventure. Hey, Freelancer, how you doing? Danger, Darkness, Dwarves. Hey, yeah, man, Deep Rock Galactic's fun. I don't play it. I don't have time to play games, but I listen to it. Like this side panel that we have over here, where I can engage with you guys and like here and here. That's basically the window that I have into YouTube while I'm painting, because I can paint like this and I can drift over here and just catch sight of whatever's going on, and occasionally, you know, screen flip if I need to see exactly what's happening, like what weapon selections are happening. But for the most part, that little just flashing light over there satisfies my AC, I don't know, my ADHD, who knows if I have any, but whatever. It keeps me entertained while I'm just punching away at pixels over here. But yeah, espionage, diplomacy, heists, ship combat, asteroid delves. It's a robust game space with a lot of different types of adventure scenarios for them to be able to operate inside of. So it's coming along really well. We're gonna fuck around with it till high levels. If we can, we'll see how far we get in a year, and if we still think it's fun in a year, then I'll open it up, just the general bits of it to open playtesting for anybody else to get access to, and we'll scrub the IP off of both Eberron and Spelljammer and just build it as its own sci-fantasy asteroid campaign space for us to just basically put out there as a setting with some with guild mechanics too, because all the stuff that the guilds do, like the mining, the patrolling, like research XCOM style. I don't know if you guys are XCOM 2 fans. I am. That was something I watched over here in the side rail when it came out, and I loved the operations of running the ship and then like spending time and points on research to develop new weapons and options for your characters, which is what we're in the process of doing. Like every time they go into an asteroid, there's a chance that they can like do monster hunting to extract organs or whatever from the monsters to see if they can then take them back to their lore, their research labs, and see if they can develop new magic items, artifacts, technology with them to take into future dungeons with them. And it's all based off of just very simple ability checks. But that's the command system. I actually have a channel here in Phil Kearney that's devoted. Hold on, I'll take a quick tangent over here for you guys to look at playlists. Here it is, In Command of Army Guilds and Kingdoms. This was the book. This was the thing that we were developing. 31 episodes. 31 episodes into it, Spelljammer dropped. And we were already developing vehicle mechanics to build convoys. And hey, Cash, we had developed alternate land vehicle mechanics so that the characters would be able to build and then take command of convoys of infernal war machines of various sizes beyond what was just presented in the book. So we were interested in a Mad Max style campaign, and Descent in Avernus was cool as hell. So we decided, why not, let's dive into the mechanics of vehicles, because the mass combat, the command system that we built was built for mass combat, and the mass combat works very similar to how scaling our ships work. At the time, we were developing, how can we have hundreds of troops move together and have efficient action economy like we have in 5e for just individual characters, how can we have that same action economy and style of combat for mass combat? And we spent about a year developing that before this book, like in 2021, 22. That was how I spent my COVID. Basically, my downtime was building a mass combat system for 5e that abso-fucking-lutely works. We did playtesting for it in... a lot of playtesting for it in Descent into Avernus initially, just by building like the paladins that you can find. That's a few units of cavalry. Our team defeated this. Oh god! At one point there was like some sort of chain devil. I think was the original lore, that they were this like pseudo like mini boss demon that was in the wastelands, and he was, I think, like he had enslaved a frost giant god. So the way that we built it out was, if they could take an army in and free the frost giant god, the god would grant us hundreds of already dead berserker, like Valhalla style frost giants that became our a shock troop for us. So we had paladins, we had the giants, and that's when Spelljammer happened. So we're like, wait a second, these Spelljammer ships, they use the same, we could use the same mechanics that we used for 100 by 100 foot or 500 foot blocks of soldiers. We could use the same mechanics for that. We already had that size of a legion in Descent into Avernus. So it's like, well, what if we just converted the trucks to 50-foot units, like a demon grinder was a gargantuan-sized 20 foot by 20 foot footprint. But we already had squads of knights on horses that occupied 20 by 20 blocks, and so we just converted that to vehicles. And then when Spelljammer happened, we're like, wait, we can do the exact same thing with vehicles, but make them fly and make them up to 500 feet in size. And we're like, wow, this really works. But how's the scaling? So we had to mess around with scaling for a while. But once we figured that out, we started playtesting it in Descent into Avernus. We realized really fast that the Infernal War Machines, if you just gave them wings, they became fighter craft. All we had to do was up the maximum speed that they could move from 500 feet to like 1 million miles. So or 100 miles. It went from 100 miles per hour to, it was 200 miles. It was 100 miles per hour. No, it was 50 miles per hour, because they broke down from 24 hours to 2 hours to 10 minutes to 1 minute to one round. That's the scale of time from day to round. It's a loose ballpark numbers that we're looking at. But so they were able to move 50 miles per hour, which was essentially 500 miles, 50 miles to basically 1,000 miles per day is what you could make in an Infernal War Machine if it was nonstop. And so we just had to upscale that to 1 million miles per day as a fighter craft, or 100 million miles as a vessel. And so that simplified and resolved us having the scaling of vessels and craft, which opened the door for us to be able to scale out to like moon and planet-sized hit point stacking, which then converted over into making creatures that were 50, 500 feet, 20, 30 miles in size for characters to fight in Mecha and Infernal War Machines. And so the first Infernal War Machine testing that we did in Spelljammer, they took down the... hold on. I'm going to get my screen here. I feel like I'm being asked a question that I'm ignoring, and I don't want to ignore. Here we go. Let's just size everything up here, get everything properly on track with where we're... There we go. So, no, it's not. I actually stopped production because Spelljammer was more relevant and important than the mass combat system. I might actually export the mass combat system into a Kickstarter project and use it through Creative Content, through Creative Commons. We were using examples of like Waterdeep and Dragonlance and Ravnica, which are all IP and DMsGuild specific stuff. But yeah, when we got as far as vehicle combat, then Spelljammer happened, and so we paused the building of that book. And I'm glad that I did, because the campaign I just started, the development of the Eberron asteroid belt mining campaign that I just started, simplified all of the command mechanics for guilds and kingdoms dramatically. So I'm going to be able to reapproach that content. I probably won't get back to it until later on this year, but it's on my agenda. It's on the workbench. Don't worry about that. And people that jump into my Discord channel, I can give you access to the playtest content that is already up for the mass combat system. We used it in Descent into Avernus, as well as Horde of the Dragon Queen. We had first level characters go to the village. If you know Horde of the Dragon Queen at all, the WotC adventure, our first level characters, the first chapter is called Greenest in Flames, when there's basically a dragon cult army that invades this town called Greenest, and your characters show up. And the way that it's built, the way that WotC presents it, is you're running and hiding from military units, like these cultists that are goblins and dragonkin and cultists and dragon like giant lizard mounts. And your first level characters are running and hiding and trying to stay out of trouble, making their way to the central fortress to then sneak out again and rescue people, like one at a time. Well, with the mass combat system, what happens is your first level characters get to the edge of town, and the first thing that you run across is a family, a mother, father, and some kids running from a squad of goblins, 5 goblins. So your first level characters, if you're able to defeat the goblins, the villagers that you rescued are able to tell you what's going on and where you're going to go to. And WotC presents it as a stealthy escort mission to try to avoid trouble, but that the father and the mother are willing to die to protect their children. So you form a squad around the children, with the NPC parents and your team occupying the same zone of squad, as though it were like a small size fighter craft. And that gives the team action economy that they can share between the parents and themselves to fight the next squad of goblins that you run across. So then the goblins form up as like a 3x3 squadron to fight against a squad or platoon to fight against you. And the team can use their hit points to soak damage for the parents, and if the kids get caught out, to protect the kids in like this warding event. And that just clicked immediately. So we defeated another god. We're making our way to the fortress in the middle of the town, and we're accumulating more villagers. Like, as we come by, we're ducking into buildings looking for villagers. Like, we're going to take this place back. Are you with me? They're all like, fuck yes, we are. So they grabbed pitchforks, and we grew and grew and grew our squadron until we got to the door, where there was like 50 soldiers with bows waiting for us. It's like, let's rock. So we formed up and made a larger size squadron. There's a dragon that was burning buildings, but the amount of damage that a platoon of longbowmen can do, if they could survive 3 strafes of dragon, they ended up losing, out of those 40 soldiers, they ended up losing like 25 of them, but they brought the dragon down to single digit hit points. It had to run away. And so that broke the advantage that the goblin army had. The commander of the army, to take control of the situation, called them out. It's like, I want to fight your champion, and if that's the case, surrender yourselves and we'll let all these kids go. And so they called out a champion. The players stepped up, and while they did that, all the villagers snuck out and then encircled them and ambushed the army while they were watching the fight. And then they won the battle against them, rescued the kids, took the town back. And that was actually the first playtest that we did. After that, we're like, let's build on this. Let's go play in Descent into Avernus and see if we can use our command mechanics to make Elturel our base of operations, take command of the city, and use that as a base of operations to go out, collect allies from Avernus, and then protect the city from the demons and devils that kept trying to climb the chains. So they had built barricades and they were fighting the line to keep these demons off of Elturel. And then once they started building Spelljammer ships, what happened was after they killed after they defeated the Chain Devil and won a favor from the Frost God, they got their Frost Giant allies. Then they went and fought the Hell Wasps. There's this 100-foot hive of Hell Wasps, and they stormed that with their Infernal War Machines and their giants. They took it over. They then charmed the Queen, and then took her back to Mad Maxine. And Mad Maxine then started doing arcane experiments on them, and were taking the wings off of these Hell Wasps and fusing them to the Tormentors, the huge-sized battle trucks. So they had all these dragon wings on their sides that gave them lift, kind of like that Lex, the TV show Lex. If you've seen that, we basically had Hornet fighter craft. And at that point, we could just fly them back to Elturel, and we could strafe any demons that were trying to climb chains. And that attracted Zariel's attention. So Zariel has this giant blade. It's a 500-foot spelljamming craft with a 400-foot blade that could deal hundreds and hundreds of damage when it would hit. And she was going to saw through the chains to drop it into the water so she could collect all her souls and just scoop it up into the Spelljammer. Well, since the team knew that she had this giant Spelljammer ship, they got, what was it, Beelzebub's favor? No, it was Grast. I think it was Grast, yeah, who would offer a favor, and the favor they did was he gave the team a Scorpion ship. So now they had a little 75-foot proper spelljamming ship and about 40 fighter craft. And they swarmed and attacked Zariel's flying fortress, and she had to retreat. And so they were able to secure and maintain protection for Elturel. And at that point, we were ready to playtest Light as Araxis. So we paused there and then got into the fleet mechanics for Light as Araxis, and then built out the Neogi hunt and the O-Mama, the O-Mama scaver hunt, and all that stuff because of Spelljammer specifically. But the intent is to go back and build out a In Command of Elturel campaign as an augmented alternate option for how to play Descent into Avernus from a domain stance where the team goes in knowing that their goal is to take command of Elturel and use that as a base of operations before it got swarmed over by demons. So that became the theme of the campaign, of trying to build a large enough force so that Zariel would have to negotiate with you, and then you could try to get her Humphalump to try to help her remember who she was supposed to be and potentially win her back to your side, so you'd have her and her Spelljammer working against the Demon Lords to reclaim Elturel and then to send it back to Toril. So that's the theme of the campaign, but it would probably take me 2.5 years to build it. So I'm questioning if that's a really good use of my time, considering how my stuff sounds awesome, but unless a shitload of people want to play it, there's so many other things I could be doing. So it's really just a matter of where can I get support? What are people willing to invest in? And is it at all possible for me to be able to break even at the end of a 2-year build, So I don't know. It's out there. It's something I could do, but yeah, really fucking crisp. So yeah, jump into my Discord and ask me about it, and I'll make sure you have a link to the command mechanics. It's honestly, compared to where Spelljammer is at now in this book, those mechanics are really archaic and rough. This book that we've taken the past 19 months to build has really allowed me to reevaluate how efficiently can we build squad mechanics for upscaling the size of your space, or whether with a vehicle that flies, drives, or it's a bunch of people. But the core of it's still solid. It works fine. It's great. It's just I think I can build it more efficiently now. And then it's a question of, do I want to put it on DMsGuild or do I want to do a Creative Commons thing with it? Because I have examples in it already of like, if like you want to use my, if you want to use my city mechanics and my guild mechanics, I made examples of the city of Waterdeep. I took all the religions that have churches in Waterdeep, both the official ones and unofficial ones, and I built them into guilds using that system. So you'd see what kind of resources they had available and what kind of threats they could pose to a team as adventure hooks. And then I also took from the Ravnica campaign setting. I built the Simic Combine. I rebuilt the Renown Guild system to use these mechanics, so that over the course of your character gaining up to 50 renown, you would become in control of a Zonot and be able to have your own research laboratories capable of creating Krasis soldiers that you could then lead as an army against Gruul. And then Gruul could have massive sized creatures to fight back with you in the Rubble Belt. So that's as far as we got with the book before Spelljammer happened. But there's like a lot of really enticing stuff in there that makes me... the reason why I stay on the DMsGuild is because I love the IPs so much. I spent since age 12, I've been playing in like Dragonlance and Spelljammer and Planescape and Forgotten Realms for fucking ever. And I love Eberron. Is by far my favorite since it came out in 3rd edition. And so it's been just a dream of mine as an artist to do artwork for these types for these settings. And then once I caught the designer bug in 5th edition, then it was like, wow, I can, if these campaign settings ever come out, I can actually build Spelljammer content here like the way that I would want to do it, the way that I know I can do it. And it happened, and it's fucking happening. So like there's like some serious bucket list action happening here for me, but I know ultimately for me to do all the things that I want to do, I probably don't need to do it on the DMsGuild. Plus, we might not be welcome after 2024 comes out. So I'm kind of in a sit and wait mode to release this stuff. The command mechanics work pretty good, but they're by far from done, but they work perfectly well. That's kind of the background to all this. So, big ramble. Hope you guys don't mind so much. But the guild and kingdom mechanics have gotten so efficient with the campaign I just built for my home table. I'm legitimately excited about building it all out. Right now, it's just a bunch of index cards and cliff notes, but the team loves it. And it plays well, and it's basically just a shitload of ability checks. Like I've reduced D&D combat to an ability check, and so we run 1 hour. Hold on. Yeah, it was pretty fucking cool. It was very fucking cool. It was, goddamn. There was some awesome stuff that we were doing during the pandemic at my table. Super fun, and these were just people that it's like, hey, I wanted to do it online. I didn't stream the episodes, but I just recruited people offline. It's like, hey, I want to do this thing. Is anyone interested? And we basically had like a 6-month campaign, you know? Built all this shit out, and it's like, wow, this stuff works. I'll be back. And then like 19 months later, here we are, right? Super fun stuff. But yeah, my home table. So I run D&D for my coworkers. I currently have a West March of 6 players. We have a 1 hour per week episode. I've been doing that for 5 years. I had 3 players that played normal D&D 5e. From level 1 to 20, it took us 5 years of 1 hour per week. So it was about 200 and some odd hours of campaign. This is the 3rd campaign that I finished from level 1 to 20. Before, it was with my old school college team that was still online. And on roll 20, we would go from level 1 to 20 in Eberron in about 220 some odd hours. We did that twice in 4-hour game sessions every Saturday morning. And then that team just, life went another direction for a lot of them. So that the team was no longer viable. So that's what got me into doing all the playtesting stuff, because I needed a table. And then the playtesting was done, but some of my coworkers realized what I do, and they were getting into critical roles. So they're like, yeah, this critical... Phil, you played D&D, right? Yeah, I mean, I've been running games since like 87. What's up? Like, we want to learn how to play. I'm like, really? Okay. So we ran a level 1 to 20 campaign. It took us 5 years to finish. There was 3 of us. There was 3 players and me. And we basically had 1 hour a week to play that game. And it took about 220 some odd hours to finish at 1 hour per week. So since then, we've gotten attention, and now we have 6 players instead of 3. And we're like, Jesus, if everyone shows up, I can't play normal D&D. I need to simplify shit. So that's what got me rebuilding the system that I've been streaming the past month. But so basically everything is an ability check, and it's measured on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being a DC of 4, 10 being a DC of 31. For any of the other D&D mega geeks out there, there's been a wave. Well, actually, I wouldn't say a wave. There's been a wave of videos going around from the OSEs about like what really makes D&D. Like, is it the game itself, or is it a system of games, or is it an attitude? Like, what makes D&D D&D? And I love those kind of videos. Who was it? Daniel with Bandits Keep, the Bandits Keep YouTube channel. Big shout out to Daniel's community. And Minton, who did Ben Milton. God, I'm completely blanking on it. He made Maze Rats and Lament of the Fire, Lament of the, I can't remember the name of his games. I'm completely blanking on him right now. But love his work. They were both musing about this. And then Rules Lawyer came out criticizing the 5e game system. But he was right that bounded accuracy never really played out the way that everyone thought it was going to play out. Just like we all thought we were going to get flying ship mechanics with Spelljammer, that didn't work out either. Just like I thought I was going to get a color mana system for D&D when Ravnica or Strixhaven or Theros released, and then none of that happened either. But he was right. Bounded accuracy. There was it was so easy to blow past the DC 31 that it wasn't really a legitimate thing. But the system that we built here, I framed it around the idea of bounded accuracy. Is like, if I'm going to build an ability, I had already built an ability check system for all the guilds and kingdom stuff that I had been developing for the command system. So I was already aware that you can operate within bounded accuracy. But I was also working, there's guilds, kingdoms, and then I was also working on specialists, which are NPCs that specialize in different types of industry. So depending on what the task is, they could roll with different levels of proficiency, and we were using the proficiency dice that we use for the reload mechanics and the command checks here. The guilds and the kingdoms use that too to achieve downtime activities. What was it? Alpha Stream. Alpha Stream. Talos. I can't remember Talos' last name offhand. I don't want to screw it up either. But some really great game designer. I looked at one of his recent reviews of the Bastion system that was put out by Wizards of the Coast as playtest content, and his comment off the cuff was, if you're going to run an organization or have a fortress or something, you'd think that it would lean into downtime activities, like as a hub to perform downtime activities. That would just kind of make sense, right? Well, that's what I had been doing about 1.5 years before they came out with the Bastion system. So I went ahead and patted myself and broke my arm in the process. And once that healed, I was able to fold back and look at this for my current campaign, and I wanted to play test a guild campaign. And now that the first Eberron campaign had concluded, and I had so many people at the table, it was a great opportunity for me to build a guild-based system that would facilitate a Westmarch style campaign where everyone has stakes in the guild that they're a part of, and it became an automatic roster for replacement characters. Because if you had the guild tattoo on it, you were a sworn follower, and that meant we could trust you. So all the players, all the characters that are going to replace the players that replace the characters that fall, or when we pick up new players, they can just have a made guildsman or a tattooed brother, and just be able to immediately trust why they're there for the same reason that you are, to win the day. And so we could then use that specialist system that I had been tinkering with to use the same ability check system to resolve combat. And a lot of this was honestly inspired by Balduran's Guide to Kingdom Building, which is on the DMsGuild. That was created by Adam Hancock, who is the editor for this book. So he is my proofreader and editor for the command system and for the Spelljammer book. So I specifically leaned into the Balduran's Guide to Kingdom Building as a baseline for me to develop my own guild system as an expansion and embellishment of what he had already published, as an opportunity for him to potentially bundle Balduran's Guide with what I'm building here for us to both lift each other up. But he's been very, very patient. So that alone gives me reason to consider the command system for the DMsGuild. But even if I decide to kickstart it and do it through Creative Commons, I'd be happy to have Adam as my editor if he's available, because he helped me build out these mechanics. So he's a great guy too. Hey, what's up? Any advice for a GM who is attempting to run a beyond 20th level Becoming a God campaign for 3.5e? Any big red flags to avoid on general advice? Also, I was a big fan of ACKS. I don't know what ACKS is. Oh, right. Kingdom, yeah, too. I'm guessing ACKS. Wait, I don't recognize that acronym. Adventures in Conquering. I don't know what that is. You're gonna have to send me a link to that on my Discord. So advice. So I played in 3.5. I played epic Gestalt campaigns from level up. I think we got up to level 27 when I moved. Basically, I had a team in Arizona that we basically trained each other on how to DM. So 3.5 has a lot of tools in its toolkit that other versions of D&D doesn't. But basically, once you get above 20th level, we started switching over to ability damage. We would have a lot of shadow and psychic combats using the 3.5 psionic rules that would deal ability score damage. So once they got up to that level, we basically switched over to a psionic campaign so that we were having psychic combat, because dealing ability score damage was the same scale for level 1 characters through level 50th characters. You only have probably no more than 30 in your primary stat, even in the 20th levels. So honestly, that's how we cheated our way into that system. We would occasionally have physical damage stuff for fun and shits and giggles, and we'd have rocket tag style spell combat. But it's really difficult to damage 20 plus level characters in 3, especially for playing Gestalt. So ability scores became our solution, and I'm not a big fan of killing gods, but you have to have there has to be a weakness that the team can discover and then plot a way to exploit. But the big problem with high level campaigns is how independent the characters are, and there has to be enough emotional buy-in from the team to be able to sustain a campaign of that level, where the characters or the players are basically calling the shots, and the DM is the one that's reacting to it. So the team that I grew up on in the 2000s playing 3E. I mean, I started back in '87, but I really got good at DMing during 3rd edition because we just trained and trained and trained specifically on how can we solve the problem of how ridiculous 3E gets, how can we make it fun and sustain storyline and still threaten each other so that we aren't just face rolling any campaign. And two things specifically: one, modifying the rules so that even if you miss with an attack that does physical damage, you deal a minimum amount, like half the damage that you could deal, or like just the bonuses. So like if you'd be able to do like 5d10 plus 50 points of damage normally, if the attack misses, you do 55 points of damage anyway. And so that immediately puts any table at any scale from level 1 to 5,000 on the back foot, because anything that's of a CR worthy of them paying attention to can become serious threats. So minimum hit point damage and a shitload of psionic combat to be able to access ability score damage. So that was honestly the solution that we had. The little hit point hack is something that I still recommend and have always recommended throughout 5e. I don't implement it during my playtesting campaigns because I'm playtesting a 5e game mechanic, so I can't add my I can't add my homebrew on top of playtesting for a third-party product. You don't stack homebrew on homebrew when you're testing stuff, unless the homebrew is like player options and you don't care what the characters are. Then you openly invite them so that you can get people to play. The reason I got so many people to play test in the games that I ran is because the focus of it was systems that existed no matter who your character was, and resolution mechanics for the DM. So the players could literally bring any third-party content that they wanted for 5e to the table to test. And I was running levels like 1 to 17. Play whatever you want. So, wow, what a great opportunity. So it was easy for me to recruit people. But I digress. 3rd edition, it's killing a god is, you have to have a way to kill it. It has to be something that the team can discover, and it has to be fun. And if you set up those hostilities against the team so that they can't just roll over stuff that their lives can be severely risked, then you should be able to keep their entertainment. But if it's being built from scratch, like as a one-shot sort of thing, like where they start at 20th level, I've never seen one of those last more than like 2 months. I know there's some YouTubers out there that run 20th level games, but I don't think they do that with an ongoing table. I think a lot of it is like Patreon stuff. Maybe I'm just talking shit and I don't know what I'm talking about at all. But I don't think I've ever seen a campaign that started at high level be able to last long, because the weight of the characters, just to be able to use the characters, is so, there's so much stuff that the characters are capable of doing, and that the players that are doing it probably don't have the opportunity to play characters that at that level. They didn't earn the power that they have, and they often want to bring stupid builds to the table. It's like, oh, I always wanted to play this ridiculous build, and I don't know whenever else I'm going to have the opportunity to do it. But if they just run a White Room build from level 1 to 20 and let's start, they're not really building their characters around the campaign. Like when I run a 20th level campaign, I start at first level as prep. So the entire 20 levels it takes to get there, the team is now emotionally invested in the things that are happening, and the table develops a culture about what's fair usage of spells and what isn't. Yeah, right on, man. Right on. Hey, Shiner, it's good to see you, my guy. Zona, I'm glad I can be helpful to you. I mean, it's I know there's not a lot of DMs that started back in 1E that are actually enthusiastic about 5E, and I recognize, without bragging or humility, that I've been in a very unique circumstance of having incredibly dedicated players. Like, I would not have gained the skills as a DM that I have, and the experiences and the perspective that I have in the art of playing games like this, if I didn't have team members that were as dedicated as I was of actually being able to operate in that space. Like, we went in specifically with the objective of, let's figure out how to make 5e work. Like, we already like, when we thumbed through 5e and then we compared it to 3e, it's like, geez, 5e is like easy mode, and it really is. And like, compared to 3e, 5e ain't shit if you're familiar and comfortable with epic games in 3e. And we'd spent 10 years building up to 20 plus level, and then it wasn't cool enough, so we stacked Gestalt on top of it so we could build 20 levels of monster and stack it with 20 levels of fighter alongside it, so we could just do goddamn ridiculous shit. And then we had to figure out, how can we build a narrative around this so that we can keep people's attention. And we quickly realized threatening people, like, you have to be able to pose threats, which means you have to change the structure of just the basic mechanics of how the game works, so that you're leaning into the things that can hurt characters at any level, which is technically cheating yourself away from 5e altogether. But honestly, just when we figured out doing the minimum damage, even if you don't hit, that allows the DM to start looking at how much damage can the team take over the course of, like, say, 5 rounds. You know, like, if you're running a 20th level team with oops, I just locked up. Hold on. I want to hit save here in case something bad happens. And then, cool, we're back. If you're rocking 20th level, your wizard has, like, maybe 95 hit points. Your barbarian's trucking, like, around 220 hit points. You know that if you want combat the last 3 or 4 rounds, if you're dealing 30 points of damage, no matter what, all you have to do is catch the wizard out of position, and it's about 2 rounds before they're thinking about, get the fuck out of there, because their characters are being threatened. And once they lose one character, it starts to death spiral on them. And then you start looking at, like, diversifying how the board works by using like a lot of push effects to keep the melee characters from crawling up on enemies before you want them to. Like, most of my tough creatures have push effects or like push or like lockdown effects. Like, you can't get closer than this, or like, if for every, like, 20 feet out, you'll take 5 points of damage per round, and for every 5 feet closer you have to get to the creature, you'll take an extra 5 points of damage just for being there. And then you can do things like, every time you hit them, they're going to take. We were using the penalty system from the negatives from exhaustion, where we did the -1 through 10, except we didn't have a cap on it. It was basically every time you got a degree of exhaustion, it would add an additional -1 to you. So for a while, we were running it so that, like, if you got hit by this demon, you would have basically a -1 buff on your character until you could spend a restoration spell or a short rest. For every hit die you spend, you can get rid of one degree of penalty, which is a heavy variant rule, but it really knocks down characters fast. And they don't necessarily have to keep. I mean, it's useful if they keep track of it, but you could the DM could also just start ratcheting up the DC on things and just keep an eye on the characters, like have a die. And just like have a rolling die for each character behind the screen. So have them lined up with their character around the table, so that you can look down at the die, look at them, look down at the die. It's like, oh yeah, he's got a 7. So I know to add 7 to everything that he needs to hit on his DC. That makes it pretty easy. But it's a little clumsy. So that's like a rare thing to do. There's warding. That's kind of a ward. That the hit points, like the closer you get, the more damage you deal. Like, Magic the Gathering has this concept called warding, where if you want to target a creature with a spell, you have to pay an additional price, otherwise it's countered. So that warding effect could be either. I'm a spell point enthusiast, so I use spell points. Obviously, color mana, it's linked down below. But spell points is basically a resource hit point stack that you spend to create effects, whether combat or now the martial power system as martial effects. But a ward is Like if you want to cast a spell at that creature, if it has ward 3, you have to spend an extra 3 mana, or basically an extra 3rd level spell slot, to even attempt it to make a saving throw. Otherwise, it automatically just counters the spell. Like, that's good boss fight shit. That really devalues the effect of a wizard or like a full caster wanting to spam target. And it would also count against the monk too. If the monk wants to stun that thing, it has ward, you're gonna have to spend an extra 3 key. Don't do it. That increases the value of the martial characters that are then like getting zone damage against them, and if like they fail to hit, then they get a bounce back damage mechanic. So there's a lot of ways that you can punish their failures or make them pay extra for success. And there's a number of different ways that you can do that. And these are some of the low-hanging fruit ideas that I think are fun. But you'll be able to develop and find your own as well. But that's a quick list of some of the cool ones. But the team has to be on board with it. If they aren't cool with altering the rules like that, basically you can't run. I can't run a 20th level game if I'm not allowed to fuck around with the rules like that. Because doing that makes it easy for me to create physical challenges that can destroy them if they're not careful. So they become cautious. And so that allows me to build in threats, which then allows me to build like actual plot points where they have to deal with the fact that they can be killed by the things that they're fucking around with. So they can't just bully the entire multiverse to do whatever they want. Yeah, they're mobile, and yeah, they can find out anything, but that just means they go to where you want them to go faster, and they get the answers that they weren't smart enough to figure out on their own. So high level stuff just gives them all the things that you want to give them anyway, but they have to spend resources to do it, which is awesome. So just build in some attrition mechanics, some pain methods, and just let them do it. And resurrection is the new healing spell. So like you can rocket tag them down to death, and they'll just have to pop a few spells. They'll just have to pop 5 mana to get their barbarian back up and running. But they're going to be a lot more cautious about diving into that shit in the first place, because hey, if we rock up on this dragon, it's 500 feet long. It's probably going to knock us for like 70 points of damage, even if we're just trying to step on it. Are we ready for this? Maybe there's a way we can knock down some of its warding. Like, is there an artifact we can find that will dispel the wards around it so we can attack it like we would want to, like a normal 5e campaign? Then you just let them destroy it in 3 rounds because they earned it, because they found the MacGuffin stuff that lets them defeat the wards that are on these creatures. Gods are kind of the same way. If you have a means of killing the god, basically the wards that are on the god makes it indestructible, so you can't actually hurt it. It has unlimited legendary saves, so it can just choose to pass a saving throw unless it wants to fail it. It has to be in its home plane to kill it forever, otherwise it just comes back the next round and slaughters you. It can create an infinite number of avatars of any CR that it wants to fight your characters at any time. And so the team has to be able to avoid the avatars while finding where the god really is with the MacGuffin to make them weak enough to actually be able to attack them, and then you could kill them. And then that can set off a cascade of other gods trying to knock you down for trying to step on their boys club of immortality. And so that can kick off an entire cascade of more immortal enemies that you have to fight at the same scale. And it gets a little ridiculous. But if your team, if your session 0 is built around, it's like, hey, we can do this, but here's some mechanics that we're going to need to implement to be able to make sure that it's challenging for you. That's the important part, to make it challenging. And that's what these ideas do, is that they make the fact that they're gods pretty much irrelevant, like godlike themselves. Like, 20th level characters makes it irrelevant. Because you can, if you decide to have a difficult creature just have an aura that does 70 points of damage every round, Wizard's got like 2 rounds and I gotta go. Like that's it. The Barbarian's gonna get whittled down in 3 or 4 rounds, whether he's killed that challenge or not. Just trying is gonna get them killed. So they are always trying to find ways to break wards, which you can make them pay for with hit dice, spell slots, or again, I love spell points, so I can use that. You can use degrees of exhaustion. You can do a stacking penalty on all D20s that they do. You can have stacking, like you can have multi-vantage having them roll 3 dice and take the worst of the 3. Like if like a ward effect that you can use against like high level creatures is they can have, if you wanted, you can say like ward 3 means you roll 3 dice and take the worst result of those 3. So, or like if they're doing saving throws, when I run my game, players roll all dice. So they'll have a target number that they have to hit with their defense roll instead of armor class. And if they miss the roll, they take X amount of damage. If they hit the number that they need, they'll take full damage. If they succeed the check, they take minimum. If they pass the check, they'll, if they fail the roll, they'll take the normal damage. If they pass the check, they'll take the minimum damage. If they crit success, they take no damage. So that's how that scales. Words are difficult sometimes. But yeah, ward 3, it could be you have them throw 3 dice and they use the worst of the 3. So it it really makes their die roll shitty. So that's a fun way that you can play with wards. That ward effect is really fun because you can have all sorts of MacGuffins that can overcome them. And that just kind of builds into like you can't kill a god because like you have to have all their Horcruxes, for instance. Like you have to Vecna, for example. If you want to fight Vecna, you'll have to kill him with spell power, and you have to use the Eye of Vecna as your arcane focus to do it. Like that's a really fun way to approach attacking Vecna as basically an immortal creature that you can't actually kill. So, and everything can have things like that, like Saloon, for example. If you wanted to kill Saloon in Forgotten Realms, you'd have to do it on the moon, using moon rocks as your focus to be able to attack her, because you're attacking her with her own essence at that point. Or like make weapons out of rocks from the moon, stuff like that. Maybe that's a good tip. Oh my god, seriously, Zona? Fucking A, thank you. Our loving tap and tap burn, by the way, I converted it to 3E and they are going nuts with it. Yes! It's so basic. It works with any D20 based game that has a resource that you spend for spells. It's super fucking simple. I am so happy that they love it. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to when the 2024 Player's Handbook comes out so I can rebuild it, integrate like these ward ideas. I didn't have them implemented in Magic the Gathering because I wasn't thinking about them that way at the time. But I can add that stuff into like the DM section. I can integrate the stuff from Strixhaven and Theros. I can use the renown system that they have in there for building mana event, like to be able to tap and have maintain concentration for different guild effects. Some of that stuff probably won't be very useful because you're playing 3E, but I've been using it. I've been using it now for like what, 6 years, and my table loves it too. I mean, just spell points are just so simple. And having a paradigm like the color paradigm, it's so easy to use that as a narrative tool as a DM. Like you can just literally tell them, yeah, that guy my character at one point my druid had permanent detect, like she had a fairy eye like from the magicians, so she actually had her eye jabbed out by a cleric of Grumpsh. She was a druid and her mentor was a Grumpsh acolyte. And he had a very hostile approach to like the gruel nature of magic. But Grumsh all blind their eye to gain divine power. So her character blinded her own eye, and the gift that she got back was a permanently on detect magic effect. So the world, anytime she'd see a magic effect, she'd just get this blast of color. And obviously some magic is so potent that you can see the color in real space without having magic. And like, you know, seeing a dragon's eyes glowing red gives you an idea that this guy might be, you know, it's probably a red dragon. I mean, that's pretty literal, but like a demon that has like blue sigils on its body. This is probably a good idea. He's probably got some sort of wards or counter magic effects that your team might want to research a little bit before they start chucking spells at him. It's such a great narrative tool. I am honestly stunned that Wizard hadn't attempted to dive into that space, because you just nerd out so hard on building your character around color themes. It's insane, man. It is so good. And Dice Try is a channel here on YouTube that does all his content is about philosophy and how do we see colors represented in different types of media, and like how would you build different types of characters using different color themes. It's a fan-fucking-tastic channel. I'm a Patreon supporter of his. And yeah, so blending his philosophy around character design as alignments, like color as alignments, and adding that to the color mana system that we have for Tap and Tap, it's like you literally live your life on your sleeve. Like I can see the colors that you're bathed in. I know who you are. It's like you think you know who I am. Have this, and then you fuck with them. Like one of my favorite characters was an Orzhov sorcerer. So it's black and it's white and black magic, but she had the magic initiate feat, and I made that point can be any color that I want. So I made it green. So my character's backstory was she was Fey touched, so her parents were Selesnya Conclave that ended up selling their souls to Orzhov as a result of a bad deal. And so like 6 generations later or whatever, this character is born, and she's got a recessive gene of a point of green magic. So Orzhov doesn't trust her because she's dipping a different color, but at the same time they assign her to do all the outrig work, to collect taxes from these communes that aren't tracking how many people actually live on that tree. Fucking fun, man. It's just like the depth of character development that just automatically gets fed into the mechanics that you build into your character. It's just fuck, it's so good. You can't do that with alignment. It's the color is magic, man. It's literally magic. It's stupid pun, sorry. But God, it's like nothing else. It just makes me cry that they don't. Anyway, it's a serious hold my beer moment for me anytime I think about it. So thanks for letting me rant about that here for a few minutes. Because goddamn, color mana is so cool. It is like nothing else. So cool. And obviously it works for I think the big gain that we're going to get from the Martial Powers book is having the elemental mechanics, like the color magic, but using 4 instead of 5 for the air, earth, fire, water, so we can do airbender stuff like Avatar Last Airbender type campaigns. Super pimp, super cool. I know there's a couple different 5e books out there that like build around monks, and absolutely everything in those books work with this system. But just there's something about tying your resource mechanics to the flavor of your character that just leans into that flavor just that much deeper. It's just I am so thankful that I was the one that was allowed to carry those ideas into fruition. It's I feel blessed, and it's really just made me addicted to trying to follow that muse wherever she wants to lead me in game design. For whatever stupid reason, this is where I'm at. This is my reality. Like me building books, I'm obsessed with it, and to me, it's an expression of prayer. Honestly, think what you want about prayer and God and stuff, but I mean, if we're talking Greek influence from the olden days, it's I have a spiritual relationship with a muse in my heart, and whenever I get to turn off my brain and paint, it's me experiencing a higher level of reality than what I would normally have if I was trying to do a math problem or something. It's just something about art that just activates this intuitive energy inside of you, and it's just magical. It's magical. It's yeah. And I think it's wonderful that games, like building games, can be elevated to that level of art, to have that sense of inspiration and connection with a larger self that's feeding possibilities into you that you get to express in a randomized flavored game. What a trivial use of something so just it's almost a joke, you know, that like I feel I have connection to just like this unlimited power and omniscient energy that can just create ideas, and all I want to do is build games and paint pictures of ships. Or play a stupid game. I know there's other forms of me that have cured cancer, or like solve paralysis, or has active conversations with AI, the fills that could have been, but this one's apparently playing easy mode, this lifestyle. So forgive the sound of megalomania I have in there. It's just I understand that the ideas that I'm being allowed to create here, I actively recognize that these things are being handed to me through inspiration. Like I just get downloaded packets of information about, like, here's a resource system that you can use, and here's a couple different iterations of it that you can, like, these things just get downloaded into my brain, and it's like, oh my god, how am I supposed to express that? And then I'll start getting code, like, here's how you can say those things. It just starts filling in. And then it's just me getting out of the way long enough to get all this shit down on the page. So, like, I wish I could build books faster than I do, but again, to me, it's a divine connection. It's prayer time. It's me having an opportunity to believe more in God than I did a minute ago, because that circle I just drew was fucking perfect. How'd that happen? I couldn't do that 5 years ago. Anyway. Thanks, guys. You're really sweet. I get kind of lofty on occasion. It's just, I just hope I get to build out enough stuff before I'm dead that you know, I help expand people's thoughts, or like found ways for people to see that things can be done differently than they thought. And it's such a campy, inconsequential medium, this role-playing game, but like taking 5e and making it do things that people don't think it's supposed to be able to do, and like find ways to express it in 5e games, different like heists, like flashback mechanics for heists. It's such an easy thing to do in 5e, and it's fucking awesome. Like, people saying you should play Blades in the Dark if you want to do like a good heist game. It's like, you can do, I do all that stuff in 5e already. It's easy. You just gotta take the time to code it out and just think it through. It's just the best game engine ever, and I just love the different ideas and scenarios and experiences that happen as a result of it. It's like being able to DM for a team. Yeah, it's just wonderful. It's just allowing them to be kids again. Like the game that we're playing right now, they're doing all sorts of crazy crap. Like in the session that we had yesterday, they're being attacked by these by these asteroid bugs. They're like roaches, and they identified the team as being a hostile presence, so they wanted to attack them. So one of them started doing like this crab dance to try to convince him that he was an ally, and it worked on a scout. But he tried to stop a horde of 20 of them from attacking them. So he tried to up the scale on it, and he just completely botched his roll. So yes, these bugs have a language through dance, and yes, he seems to have intuited his way into understanding what it is, but he doesn't speak the language, so he accidentally insulted all of them. So that's why they attacked him. He could tell. It's like, oh my god, I think I pissed them off. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. But they are completely just going gonzo with improvisation and just being allowed to just play, just to make believe, you know, with a super light ability score system game engine. Like, we got through 30 turns of adventure in a 1 hour period of time. We had 4 people playing yesterday, and we got through 5.5 full cycles of them taking actions to dive through this asteroid to find out the answers to what's going on and to fight creatures. And they got in 2 fights. They explored 3 rooms, and they started to realize that these bugs, they eat rock, but they don't eat metal. So the further into the asteroid they got, there was less and less rock. The problem is that the bugs are coming to the surface because they're running out of, for whatever reason, these things spawned in the center. Well, they spawned in the center of it because the middle of every asteroid is Kyber, which is access to the outer planes, to the lower planes, because that's the torus of dimensions in Eberron. If you go down the surface into the Underdark, it leads to the lower planes of Eberron. And then you can leave the lower planes of Eberron to the astral, go from the astral into wild space, back into orbit with Eberron, land on the surface, and then delve back underground, and now you're back in the Kyber. So it's a torus of planar shifting that leads you out and back into Eberron. So there's this flow of energy that's just coursing through the entire reality of what Eberron's space and its orbiting outer planes are. It's just this nebulous of energy and power that's being expressed in these different ways. So all these asteroids have this Kyber in the middle of this dimensional core that will take them out into other planes. So these bugs come in through the Kyber and infest and dig out the center of the asteroid, and they get close enough to the surface because all the rock is gone, and all that's left is platinum. So there's these giant like flats and bridges and caverns and honeycombs of just pure platinum with all the rock gone. It's like the skeleton of the rock is made of platinum, and they've eaten all the flesh out of it. And so the team is starting to realize, holy shit, they've got like 7 days to harvest this thing before it leaves their territory and opens up into open space. And they're going to realize that there's a lot of people that are really interested in this rock that they just stumbled into. So they're going to have a lot of shit on their hands. And when this adventure ends and they pull out and they debrief, the next step of that is that there's going to be a massive increase of piracy and poaching around this asteroid as it drifts off into no man's land. So if they decide to keep mining it to pull more resources out of it, they're going to have to fight off multiple factions that recognize it's not in their territory anymore. So it's open to anyone who wants to take it. While it's in their territory, they're the only ones that can legally chew on it. But it's going to drift out of orbit, and they don't have enough territory to keep it. So they're going to lose it. So now they have to decide, how hard are we going to fight to keep this as we dig all that out. But the characters have to get out alive to be able to tell their tale about what happened. Otherwise, the team is lost, and they find out only as it starts drifting out of orbit. So they go deeper in, and they find that the whole rock is infested with these things. So now they're thinking, not only is there massive resources, but if we can somehow train these bugs, that would probably make mining asteroids a hell of a lot better. And instead of us being miners, we're just going to become bug rangers. So I am absolutely in love with them deciding to do that, because I didn't think about that when I made it. I just created the challenge, and it was up to them to do whatever they wanted with it. And fucking cool. Super cool. I don't remember why I was talking about that, but yeah. The gift of imagination and make believe. They're being given the freedom to basically create the scenarios as they want, to spontaneously be part of this world and try anything that they want without having to worry about too many rules around it. Just, does this make sense? Sure, go for it. That's a very BX AD&D first edition style of play. That's pretty unique to old school. I mean, like Cypher System does a pretty good job with it too. I like Cypher System, but there's not enough dice rolling in it. My team the goal of Cypher System is to not roll dice. If you can explain why you don't have, why you would automatically succeed at this task, and the way that you've built your character can justify that amount of leverage, then you don't roll the dice. You automatically succeed at the task that you want. And from a narrative perspective, from a DM side, it's just a scale of 1 to 10. How difficult is this? And that sets up your bounded accuracy. But for my players, there just wasn't enough grit. They wanted throwing dice, and they wanted it to be meaningful. So for them to play Cypher System, they would have to basically divorce themselves away from half the game. I mean, they could have made it so they had more and more bonuses to hit the effect. And honestly, we didn't think of that when we were playing it back in 2015 or back in 2015, 16, and into 17. That just didn't occur to us that we could just bend the game that way. It's just the system's more narratively focused than what we want. But it was the way that the game mechanic worked that caused us to bounce. It was fun while it lasted, but we couldn't endure a story for more than like 9 months before we wanted to let it go and do something different. But so we know that's a risk going into this new game that we're running with Eberron. But we think that I think we have enough interest in the setting and the way that it's blended, and having played together for so long that I think it's going to work out better. And plus, I think I've grown as a DM since then to be able to sustain interest in that sort of impromptu storytelling. And this team, different from the one that I did back in 2015, this team is more interested in a loose narrative style. So just the very basic dice rolling that we're doing of ability checks is proving to be satisfying so far. So anyway, hey, thanks. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, if I do, it's for you alone. Because I wasn't actively thinking about anything specifically. It's just whatever. I'm just pushing pixels and talking. I'm literally not even really paying attention to what I'm building. I'm just going to where it feels like it's balanced and not really putting much thought behind it. I've also invested like an hour more than I expected to on this illustration, but that's what happens when you guys get me to monologue, you sly dogs. I'm not liking how that's sitting. I want to blow this out a little bit. I'm sorry if that's where my octopus, if that's where the octopus was. I'm sorry. But this is what she wants me to do right now. There. But yeah, the team is fully on board with them being my playtest guinea pigs for this style of campaign, and they are 100% on board with me building it into a Kickstarter if it evolves to that point, assuming it plays out right. So they're motivated to stick with it to see if there's any aspect of it that becomes unfun at some point, to see what they can do to work with me to change it so that it becomes better. So it can remain sustainable. So it could just simply be just don't scale the dice so hard so fast, right? I mean, it could just be a matter of like how many modifiers can you get or how do you get them if it proves to be unbalanced. But we'll see if that's the case. I can only talk about the game in the past. Because if any of them are lurking and listening into the stream, I don't want to give away anything that they haven't discovered or created yet during the course of the adventure. But I am happy to talk about what has happened so far and the kind of things that they're musing about. And I can speak to those things without necessarily locking anything down, speaking hypothetically or like how this would, like what kind of a ramification that would have on the world at large beyond the current adventure, but I can't provide spoilers. But if it does go well, I'm looking forward to, I'll put it up on a Google Doc and invite people to fuck around with it and probably run a game. And I'm really looking forward to the Rubble Belt Martial Powers playtest. I'm really excited to get. I've been translating all the Eldraine creatures from the Monsters Compendium Volume 4 on D&D Beyond. There was 26 different creatures inspired by Magic the Gathering cards from the Wild of Eldraine, and the last 3. I'm down to the last 3, and I think I can get done with them tomorrow at lunch. So at that point, I'll have finished that project and gotten it off of my plate of like things in wait. That's like a light activity that I can do when I just want to show up on stream and fuck around without having anything too serious to do at the time. But yeah, that'll be concluding. I believe that's going to conclude this Friday, and that means that I'll be able to get back to developing the Rebel Belt campaign, and God, I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll probably do Rebel Belt for a while, and then maybe switch to an Avatar campaign to, instead of using color mana, switch it to using the 4 elements to build out that way. But but I want to stay in Ravnica for a while because of the color land system that we're developing as a hex crawl method for 5e MTG games. Like you could use it in Alara or Takir, any setting like Strixhaven, like an Arcavios. You could have characters out in the wilds beyond the college, and you could use the color mana hex crawl system to populate the world in chunks of 30 miles at a time. Fun stuff. And so right now, the next thing that we're going to be working on when we jump back into that is I'm plucking different enchantment, like global enchantment effects from Magic the Gathering cards for each color, so that when I random up a new plot of land, I'll be able. They'll either be monsters, environmental challenges, or magical hazards. And the magical hazards are enchantments that are infecting or affecting the region that they have to find at source, and then either hack or pay with mana a means of disarming it so that the enchantment effect gets nullified. Or they could lean into it and try to figure out how the enchantment works, so that when they take over a hex, they could instill that enchantment effect into the territory to become a global buff that they provide to themselves while they're adventuring in that hex region. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I want to build mechanics that work against and then for the players. So that's where we're at in the playtest development right now. And once we lock that down, I need to build a list of suitable CR creatures to populate each color that is logical to be in the Ravnica Rebel Belt. And then I have to find enough people that are willing to build characters using the system that I have to fuck around and basically West March in my game and let me DM for them for a little while and use all these ideas that we like the warding and the mana mechanics, paying for things, and all the boost system, the shit I've been talking about for 90 some odd episodes. But I think this is now at a place where I just want to work on that color here a little bit. I like how this looks. I can see there's text scrolling. Sorry, I'm trapped. I'm trapped in a space right now. I have to pixel my way out of it. I'll get to you in a second. And I've got about maybe 20 minutes left. Shit. So we'll get started on the next one, and I'll probably finish. There's only this and 2 other illustrations I need to finish. Tomorrow, I'm going to finish these tonight when I go off stream before I go to bed. I'll probably be really fucking tired in the morning, but it's worth it. I'll have the PDF. The PDF will be done. So I'll show you guys the PDF in its completed piece, but I still need to separate all the creature NPC, like all the creature and NPC and ship tokens out into individual files, so I can package those into a zip file. I need to break out all the system maps and the blank form mapping system for Wild Space. I need to break that all out. I have to break down the maps in Light of Xeraxis into 8x8 chunks so that you can print them out on paper and cut them out and put them together. So there's a lot of stuff. And then there's the ships. So I think what I'm actually going to do tomorrow is keep working on the ship stat sheets that we'd started. And then on Saturday, I'm going to break up the maps. That'll be my workbench, breaking up maps. And then the book will be done. So the only thing I'll have left to do is breaking up the assets, building out the system of the ship stat sheets, creating the product page on DMsGuild, and then publish. So like it's like ridiculously. It's just one step at a time. Just got to keep moving forward. But we're running out of steps to take. So I'm pretty excited. If I absolutely break my balls over the weekend getting this thing built, I can probably get it out by Wednesday. But that has not been the vibe behind the creation of this book at all. So if it takes another week, I'm okay with that. A week or so, you know, like if it publishes on the 18th. Yeah, if it publishes on I'd be content if it publishes on the 18th. I happen to have that day off. So maybe that would be the right day to drop it. It would be excessive time for me to be not rushed, to be able to make sure all the assets sit out. And plus me having the day off makes it really easy for me to keep an eye on it in case there's anything that goes awry. I take the day off when I go to the dentist. It's just a treat that I do for myself. So God's willing, I'll be able to publish it Monday morning, go to the dentist, come back, and if there's any problems with the product being published, I'll like if there's like any glitches or anything on DMsGuild, I'll be aware of and be able to fix it that day. And then I'll be able to start setting up bundles to build out supplemental products like the Mecha book, the Kaiju book, the massive size, like the 500-foot ship structures, stuff like that. The living ships, sidekick project, and then subclass and martial powers, like pilot powers, as it were. These are all different things we can do. And all I need to do right now is, I think, splash in some stars. Stars splash on the black background. I gotta catch up. What's up? Well, thanks, Zona. I don't know who Akira Toriyama is because I am culturally dead. Oh, Jesus. Well, hey, Death of a Titan. DBZ is fucking cool, man. Hopefully it was a peaceful passing. That looks really fun. I like that. All right, let's put some stars on this shit. Yum, yum, yum. Let's duplicate this layer and filter it to blur, Gaussian blur. Boom. And then equals hard yes. And then let's double down. There we go. And then we merge those together. And then we tap them again with a light eraser. There, that feels pretty good. And now we'll do it again with a different color. How about you? Right on. You got to crash out, Zona. Dude, you have a fantastic night. Thanks a lot for being here. I really appreciate you. It's really fun to be able to bounce off of people about stuff, you know? That feels pretty good. Tap that with the eraser. And then we'll double down, double down, double down. Double down equals filter, blur. Gaussian blur. Double down. Merge up. Erase. There we go. Bam, there you go. Final piece. Close out. Now we'll export it into the file here. So what I want to do is hide this. Look at all that mess, that dreck. Let's grab our corner tool like this. We can grab up here in between hazards and creatures. Here we go. And then we will copy, hard paste, duplicate the layer. Nope. Let's try duplicating that in its own window, shan't we? And then image, crop, and let's see, image canvas size, lower corner equals 5.6 by 4.5. Oh, that's right. I found a better way to do this. Just do it now. So I'm going to insert, shape, square, start, size equals there. And now arrange, align, far left, bottom, behind text, send to back. That's ready to go. So next what we want to do is hit enter. I'm going to build a mask layer. Like that. So we can blend the edges in a bit, make it mesh a little easier. Oh shit, that's the wrong button. Blend that in. Burp, burp, burp. Burp, burp, burp. We're in bonus time. We're gonna finish this picture, import it, and then I'll be done for the night. There's just a little bit of corner dreck I gotta throw up. So I'm just gonna take care of that off camera before I go to bed. I'll have that finished. We'll come back tomorrow morning and we'll continue working on the ship tracking sheets. So we can geek out about the different ships that we built. That'll be a great way to start my morning. That. Yeah, it feels pretty good. All right, cool. Let's go back to here and clean up this down here. That should sit pretty. So now let's apply. And then file, save as. What page is this? 91? 85, thank you. Photoshop to PNG. Production, interior page, done. Locks, done. 1, And I'm sorry, what page was this again? Why am I chasing this is? I'm sure I had a good reason. 85. Oh. Wait a second. Open. Interior, done. Locks, done. Oh, right. So this is 85. There we go. Okay. I know what we're doing now. Thank you. Didn't trust my own eyes. This is fair. Production. Interior pages, done. Locks. Done. There. Now all I gotta do is wait for it to finish saving. You can't see the saving, but it could take a minute, maybe even 2, depending on how the computer's working right now. And I'm streaming, so the graphics card is already being pushed as it is. So I have no idea how long it's going to take to finish saving. It is a PNG. Heyo. Waiting for that to click through. There it is. Right click, fill with picture from file, equals, back out, locks, done, part 1, kiss and a prayer, it'll sit there. Very nice. Buttons seem to work okay. Oof, wait a second. I'm having a mismatch. Hold on, my brain is breaking. I could. Copy and then paste. There we go. Let's do this. Align, center, align, bottom, behind text, send to the back, click, and here. There we go. Wait, what is that? Well, oh shit, I forgot about that corner down there. All right, hold on. No, that should have been clean. Huh? Maybe that I gotta check that out real quick. Hold on. Let's see if this thing jives. File, export, PDF, interior, test PNG, options, current page document. Turn those off. Pub. Yes. Damn, what is up with that line? But otherwise, oh, I still have the border on the box. That's what's going on, silly doob. No outline. Danku. All right, let's try that one more time. File, export, PDF. Interior pages, test PNG, options, current page, documents, no properties, publish. Yes. That looks pretty dope. It's a little busy, but I like it. So there we go. I think because of these blocks of text here, we have the alternate. Because we changed the conditions of the battle, we also have to change the results of the victories. So like in this one, the team could get captured and they'll interrogate Captain Sartell. This can trigger a mutiny from Travis, or inspired by the team, they could take control of the Star Moth that's on patrol that catches them, assuming that the Star Moth is able to board their ship in the first place. That's what happens if they're defeated. If you win, depending on how difficult a challenge it was, there's other Star Moths that are in nearby orbit that will have gotten word that the ship the team is tangling with is in trouble, and so new Star Moths can come in to threaten them, which can tear them down a lot. But yeah, anyway. And there's the mind flayers that you run across, and that leads into the second act. This looks pretty fucking cool. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. This is a good place. And I'm going to resolve the rest of that, the other two little snippets in the corners off screen. When we come back in the morning, I'll show you the final book. And, God, everything looks just pretty. I'll show you guys the PDF, and we'll get back to work on the ship stat sheets. And we'll get those finished. And once those are done, we'll deconstruct the maps so we can break them out into separate printable assets. And we'll do that on Saturday. And then once the sheets are done, the maps are broken down, then it's just break out the tokens into individual files for print, or for, like, the print will need to take like an 8.5 by 11 page and fill it up with the little 1-inch tokens, the black and white tokens that we made that you can cut out, so that you have like little chit tokens, like little piece of paper that you can use to represent the different ships or the characters that are in the adventure, or the monsters that we have, if you want. And then all the assets will be in JPEG's color for VTT use. So you'll have all the black and white assets for the characters, creatures, and ships. You'll have all the map assets for both systems and dungeon environments that we created for ship combat here. And so once those are separated and bundled into their zip files, I can then build the product page that explains what you get. We'll make the advertising page at the back of this book, because I need to have an ad page as my back cover, and then we'll publish. So we're really running out of steps. We're getting close to done, guys. I'm so excited. And then we get to go full bore into Eberron. And then we'll just be doing the same thing for Eberron. God, I'm looking forward to it, man. Really, I learned so much from creating the Light of Xeraxis conversion guide on how to structure things for adventuring. I think we're gonna have a lot of success with building out the Crystals of Mabar. I think it's gonna be a really good looking book. Man, I'm really excited about it. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. Later, Gators.